Hey everyone, thanks for listening and welcome back to Monkey Business. Today I'm joined by my hosts, as always, Warren
Howdy.
and Will.
Hey, hey.
It's good to be here, and today we're going to talk about the latest offering from Steven Spielberg, and that is The Fabelmans. Fabelmans is a semi-autobiographical story of Spielberg's childhood, but it's the lead of the story is a character named Sammy Fabelman, and it's the story of Sammy's childhood, his relationships and his struggles, and his desires to want to make films, to be a filmmaker. The story follows Sammy and his sisters, his mom, his dad, as uh, Sammy's family moves from New Jersey, I'm pretty sure, out to the desert in Arizona, and then later to California as his dad jumps from job to job. Um, it the story tracks how this takes a toll on the family, especially the mother, and Sammy learns that sometimes you have to make choices to either follow your family or to follow your heart. And it's a film about how movies, and Sammy being a filmmaker himself as a child and growing up and shooting little films on his camera, showing them to his Boy Scout buddies. It learns how movies can affect and shape our mentalities and our realities. And so, with that, let's get into it. Overall thoughts on how well this does at being a coming of age film.
It's Spielberg, man. What do you want me to say?
Yeah,
Hmm. That's an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
question.
Warren. You go for it because I'm just gonna.
hmm
Coming of age story. Yeah, I think it is fine. I don't think that's the focal point though. So I don't think it's anything to write
Really, you
home
don't think
about.
so? Because I think that is the exact thing it's trying to be. Even though this was marketed as like it's marketed in the way that like Empire of Light or like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, those movies or Babylon,
Yeah,
recently coming up, like it's like a love letter to movies. It's trying to be, a film about the movies, and because it's Spielberg, it's about him and kind of about his childhood, about how he grew up and became a filmmaker. But it really takes a turn, I think, and kind of becomes a family drama more so than that. And
Yeah, I would agree, which is why I think the coming of age part, I think that's almost just a means to an end.
Oh,
okay,
real quick,
well,
before we
it
move
usually
on.
is. Yes.
Um, there's the person on the podcast who very much does not use correct words ever. Can you please both define for me a coming of age film?
It's a story where a character, usually high school, I think would be the usual age range, but they learn about life
Typically.
and who they will become.
So it's an origin story for
How would you
teens.
define it, Carter?
It's not an origin story.
Sounds like an origin story.
It's the story of it's how a story takes a child and kind of tracks them through certain events, and at the end of it, usually they come out as an adult, I think, or a more mature person, kind of going from an innocent, kind of carefree person to someone who's has to face the world, or is ready and eager to face the world.
And a journey about deciding who they'll be.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's the
Then
key defining point of it.
if that's the agreed upon point, yeah, I think that fits the style of this film well, but I do think it is exactly 50-50 with family drama as well. Because that's just it is such an integral part of the film, is how the family interacts with each other, not just Samuel, but also Mitzi with Bert, and then also them with the family friend, Benny, who eventually becomes the reason for the parents' divorce, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I don't think Sammy's journey, deciding who'll become and going through all his struggles, I don't think that's the hanging point of the film.
Okay. Well, it's all intertwined. I guess it's
It
not like a
is.
clear defined coming of age. Like it's not a streamlined Sam Fabelman story.
Right.
It's not called Sam Fableman. It's called The Fablemans. It's
It could
about
have
their
been
entire
called
family.
Sammy.
Yeah.
It's not called Sammy.
hmm And it's about them as a whole, as a unit, and how they work.
If you sold this movie to me as just a coming of age film, I wouldn't believe you. If you said it was one of the subplots, I am totally on board. But I do think it's a very well mixed film in terms of genres and character development, character growth, character decisions, character regression, as well. So,
But just to clarify, it is a
mhm,
coming of age story. We disagree about how much of a focal point that is.
agreed.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, sure. That's fine.
All right. I think we've agreed on that one.
Okay.
So for when it is the focal point of the film, that when it is in that circle, when the film is being that, I'd say it does it very well. I think you really get a glimpse into the struggles of the young male mind with Samuel, and the heartbreak of him knowing about his mom's affair, but his dad not. And just like all this wrestling of, does he want to be just this son who pleases the parents? What is the truth he's going to live by? And what is the truth he's going to allow everybody to see in his life, right? Because he knows the full truth about the mom, but he doesn't let the dad see it, even though I, for one, think the dad knows. And I do think that eventually that character, or Samuel, comes into his own at the very end, right? And all he needs is a few figures in his life to point him in the right directions, and then he's off to the races. And the ending, because the ending of the movie is the beginning of the Steven Spielberg we know, in terms of the autobiographical sense of the film.
Well, that's an
Yeah.
interesting question. Do you guys think Paul Dano's character, the dad Bert, do you think he knew the whole time?
I think at least halfway through the movie he knew. I don't know about the entire time, but I'd say post camping trip he probably had some inclination.
I think he knew even before that.
Okay.
That's the definitely the vibe I got.
Can you point to that in the movie for me, or it was just a sense?
Well, there was a point, I believe it was before that, if I'm remembering this correctly, um, where Mitzi asks them to, like not move and or something about the company because they work together, Bert and Benny, and she's always pushing for
Yep.
helping Benny
When they
and
first go
having
from
Benny
New
over and
Jersey to Arizona,
yes.
he
Is it New
he gets
Jersey or
hired.
Delaware?
I don't know. I
I
think
can't
it's New
remember now.
Jersey. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
it's New Jersey. It's Eastern Shore. They go from the Eastern Shore to Arizona because Bert Fableman gets a better job.
IBM.
No, it's General Electric at first, right? IBM is California. General Electric in Arizona
Uh
hires him
okay. Okay.
as something to he's a computer
The early days
engineer
of
or something like that.
computers. Yeah.
Yep, in the very early days of computers. This is the 50s. So Bert is a genius of, you know, engineering and gets hired by General Electric to go and work there. And they're not initially going to take Benny, played by Seth Rogen, who does a great job. A family friend, just the kids call him uncle, and they're just, so attached to him. When Mitzi realizes that they're not going to take Benny, she's very distressed and is upset with Bert and says, you know, just you're a manager. Managers have to hire people under people, and so hire Benny, take him with you, and he does. And so they go to Arizona together, and that's the point, Warren, where you think that Bert knew.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that. Uh, I just figured maybe he'd write it off at that point, but yeah, no.
I don't think it really matters though, because I mean
Mm,
he learns pretty soon regardless.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. It's something that never even crossed my mind, so I really didn't give any thought to it at all. But I might be with you. I don't know. I'm not sure.
But Sammy definitely does not think
Yeah,
that Bert
none of the
knows.
kids have any inkling,
No,
Yeah.
it's just
and it's
that
only
child
until
innocence.
there's a scene where they go camping, and Sam, who just always has his camera on him, always filming stuff, is taking videos of all their activities that they're doing there, different stuff, and as he's editing the movie together, that his dad wants him to make about their camping trip. He, in certain things here at the end of a reel here, he'll just cut things together and he starts to piece together this story of his mom getting close to Benny and going off and them kind of hugging, them sitting next to each other, laughing. He gives her his hat and she puts it on. And it's clear to the audience for sure before then throughout the movie that she does spend a lot of time with him. And as they go into later, like there's never actually cheating there. It's not physical. It's just emotional cheating, I guess.
Still cheating.
Kind of. Yeah, I know. I'm just clarifying things
Oh yeah, no, I'm
to those who haven't seen the movie. But this it's such a well done scene because she's playing the Michelle Williams, Mitzi Fabelman is playing the piano, and there's just the wonderful piano song over it as he's slowly, cutting this reel together. And he's stunned and he's crushed. And then the next day he has to show his family the movie, and they're all happy and they're all excited. And it's juxtaposed against him sitting in the corner, standing in the corner, leaning against the wall, kind of just out of it, frustrated, not really sure how to approach the situation. And it's hard, and he has to keep that hidden for the next a while of screen time and a few months probably
at
at least.
yeah.
Yeah, at least. And
Because I think you move through the school year in that time or something like that. Because he's looking for like a summer job or something to be a lifeguard.
It's a while.
Yeah,
maybe.
So it's
Yeah.
just all bottled up, and then
Yes.
eventually it culminates in him just being so distant from the mom. She asks him what's going on, and then she slaps him on the back, and then they both go, and then he
And
runs
she's
back to his room,
horrified, and
she
she's like,
follows.
it's just this burst that came out because she later says, I'd never hit you before and I haven't hit you since. That's not who I am.
Mhm.
It's just something that, it's just something that happened. He's like, yeah, it's okay. I understand. I forgive you. But
And then one of the first things he tells her, because then he takes her into the closet where he
doesn't
keeps
say a
the
word.
recorder,
Yep.
Because it's dark in there, so you can see the projector, and he shows her the film. And then when she comes out, and I love, oh my gosh, that long take where masterful. You don't need to show me what's on the film.
Yes.
I just need to see her face.
They
Because
kind of did
Mitzi
when they showed the film back to back to back, the exact same film sequence 3 times in a
It
row.
wasn't the exact
first
same
time.
film sequence there. It was Sammy Fabelman discovering
Yeah, but they showed the
in bits and
same
pieces
scene
of
them
this.
walking in the woods.
He puts it together
over
and
over
shows
and
it to
over.
his mom.
It was a
but for
little
me,
repetitive.
that's yeah, but
And they
but
show
for me,
her
it's,
reaction, not the movie.
yeah. And so
No,
Warren,
there's a
Warren,
separate scene. Yeah.
Yes.
if I may, for me, that's not so much as the audience, like, yes, the audience only needs to see it one time, but imagine you're a 14-year-old kid, 15 at most, stumbling upon evidence there that your mom is cheating on your dad with the family friend. You're gonna watch that thing 15 times over minimum just to, like, there's no way this is true. 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 And then just that rationalization part of your brain, just kicking it over and over, trying to lie to yourself that everything's still okay in the face of the total unraveling of your family.
Sure,
and so,
but I don't think
that's kind of what I took.
I don't think it
as.
enhances the film to
I
show
think it
that 15
does.
times.
For me, it hurt more every single time he watched it.
Okay. Well, we just approach that differently.
Fair. And then when you're in the closet with Mitzi, and you just see her face, and she is a fantastic actress. And just watch as she, in time with the film, just deteriorates as she knows it's all out in the open. And then she comes out and she's crying and she's so weak, and she's just like, I'm not going to marry your dad, or I'm not going to divorce your dad. We're going to stay together. This is over. And then where, oh, what is it? Where he says, it's okay, mom, I'm not going to tell dad. And that broke my heart too, because it just hurts, man.
Yeah, it's a wonderful callback to the first, not like the opening of the movie, where that's what he does. He takes his mom into the closet and they watch their film that they made together, the one of the train crashing. which is the um very first scene is when they go and see the greatest show on earth and they see the train crash, and he's just like he's shocked and he's horrified, but he's also just like he's just in awe of it, which is just um
He's like,
it's a
I
fantastic
gotta
little
do that.
performance. Yeah, he's
I
like
th- well, I think he's also scared. Well, he's scared, but he's also scared in the moment watching it because he knows he has no control over what happens. And I
yes,
think that's
yes.
part of why he wants to become a filmmaker, is that he can control things.
It's about yeah, that's
Originally.
literally what Michelle Williams says. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's he that's why he wants to see him crash. He wants control. Um and then in giving him the ability to film it, do it, see it over and over again, that gives him the control. And that's, he then goes on to make tons of movies with his friends, has little war pictures.
Also, the tiny little fact of it's the first time we see the mom keep a secret from the dad, because this little film is going to be our secret.
Yep.
Um, and it's not something that I noticed until now, really. And I don't think it's that big of a revelation, but it is just interesting to see that it started with something so small, so innocent, so fun. And parents do that all the time. It's just like, was when my dad when we were roughhousing and I passed out, I didn't know that he told me he told my mom, and then I found out later that he did not tell my mom because I joked about it at like Thanksgiving dinner and the table went silent. And that was kind of funny. um but yeah, it was so endearing to kind of just see the the birth of his passion, right? Because I don't think I've ever had anything like that for me. You guys?
I don't think there's ever a cinematic moment like that in my life that ignited something like that. Yeah, not really.
Warren?
I don't think.
I don't know. Nothing jumps immediately to mind.
It's just it is something that I see on screen and I'm like, I want that. And it's just, I wonder if getting married, having a kid, um, I don't know, climbing Mount Everest. I wonder if that feels like that. To really come to the full realization of a passion you're gonna have for the rest of your life. I thought it was captured beautifully, and it really gave me that uh, just hope in a future of finding something to quote unquote live for. Like, Christianity is amazing, right? And I understand that, but it is also with the other understanding of I want to pursue other stuff too, and the wrestle with that as well.
All over the place so far. Mount Everest. We're going to.
Dude, you gotta. It's amazing what people can find passions for, and how big or how little people need in order to feel fulfilled, right? And for him, he has to keep climbing. But for a lot of people, hobbyism is a way to keep those dreams alive, even if they don't go on to fame and fortune. And I love the encouragement that his dad gives him as he's filming little Boy Scout movies and stuff like that. Just going, how did you get the gunshots to appear on the screen? It's like, oh, I poked holes in the
And
film. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just so well written. It's just there's just setups and payoffs because his mom, just a funny little scene where his mom is playing the piano and they have to clip her nails, and then she wanders around and steps on her sheet notes, punctures a hole, and then she pulls it off and it's like, oh man, now I have to memorize it. And then he just picks up the paper and looks at the hole and it's like it just gives him an idea, sparks an idea. And then there's just many moments like that in the film where he's living life and he feels something, he sees something, and he puts it in his movies. He puts it in his craft, into
Mm-hmm.
his passion. He keeps, constantly saying, "Don't call it a hobby. Don't call it a hobby, please."
Mm-hmm. Because for some people, it is good enough to be a hobby, but for him, it isn't.
Hmm.
This is his lifeblood. It masterfully portrayed, honestly. Um, Warren, do you think it wasn't as well portrayed, or do you think it was a highlight of the movie? Thoughts?
Which part?
The portrayal of his yearning to produce films. Do you think that the character is believable? Do you think it's paced well, or do you think it's overbearing or anything like that?
I think that was the focal part of the film. I think it was the best part.
Okay, cool. Um, I would like to talk about Benny. Uh, first of all, in my opinion, huge shout out to Seth Rogen.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
what a performance! What just to add a little bit of comedy, but also he gets to be a little unsettling after a little while, and he plays the role of, do people know about me? Do people not know about me, very well. He also plays the role of the forsaken lover in a way, or the I don't know what you even call it. Just uh, uh, I don't know. Just
Yeah, I wouldn't really call it that, but I get the
The
gist of what you're
other guy,
saying. Yeah.
yeah. Where he is just where they're watching the mom dance, and it is a very uncomfortable scene.
that
Because
was very
essentially,
creepy. Yes.
for those listening, essentially the mother dances in a nightgown that is see-through, where the audience doesn't really see anything, but you see a silhouette, and it's enough to give you the inklings of being uncomfortable, because she dances in front of her immediate family, Benny, or she dances in front of the Fabelman family and Benny on a camping trip in front of headlights of a car, and that's what gives a silhouette. And one of the daughters runs up and says, "Stop, mom! This is embarrassing." And then the dad tells Samuel to film it, and Samuel films it. Um, and Benny also watches,
Maybe
but
even more creepy.
yeah, I wasn't sure what to think about that. It was almost as if he foresaw she would need that again in her life to feel that vulnerable, or I don't know what to make of that scene entirely.
I think it was just a beautiful moment. I think it was just like it's just one of the scenes where it just kind of goes along with every scene in
One
the
way to
movie.
one way to
It's just
describe it.
them experiencing things. It's, here they're gonna go on a camping trip and she does a little dance and like, yeah, sure. Yeah. I get the complaints,
Not
obviously,
only
but
was Benny, but her kids.
yeah, I understand, but it's like,
And I think that's the self-absorbed nature of Mitzi, right? To just, she is linear focused on some type of freedom, and she doesn't know what she wants in this free world of hers, or who she wants, or where she wants to spend it. But for me, I was definitely on the side of the daughter the most, and it was very interesting to see that Samuel at this age is very ready to differentiate between something that is worth filming and something that needs to be emotionally attached to. And so he can disassociate himself that that's his mom and just film it because he sees the beauty in it. And I'm more on the daughter side of, yo, that's kind of creepy and weird and inappropriate, man. Like if my mom started doing that, it'd be bizarre. I don't know what I'd do.
yeah, obviously, but
Well, I'd hope you wouldn't turn the camera off.
No, sir.
Yeah, that
Um,
scene was rather jarring.
and
Did
and
you
I
guys
think,
find it so?
yeah.
nah,
Oh
I didn't.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just Michelle Williams doing a
Should we
little
be concerned,
ballet
Carter?
dance. No, I know. I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound creepy or wrong. I just think it's just Michelle Williams doing a dance because it that's what she was. She was an artist and she was a pianist and she wants to be that person. And then it's in little moments like this where she can find that again. And um, who do they say? They say dad. They say her dad's her best audience. But
Uncle Benny always made her laugh.
yes, but then her family's an entire audience too, and she's just I don't know.
Really, her best audience?
I get the
The
awkwardness, but I
monkey?
didn't.
The monkey's the best audience.
Oh yeah, we'll get
Dude,
to the monkey. Oh
buying the
man,
monkey made me sad. Okay. But before we get to there, I also want to talk about Benny and when he buys the camera for Samuel.
yeah,
And he just simply says, "Listen, if you because at this point, Samuel, because of just all that's going on, that the family's about to move, they're leaving Benny behind, yada yada yada. It's just he's hit a rut.
yep. So
And
this
he
is when they're moving
thinks
from Arizona to
To California.
California
Mhm.
Yep.
because Burt Fableman gets a job at IBM now. Burt
And he
says
refuses to take Benny.
he says Benny isn't cut out for IBM. They don't need him there. Um, and Benny understands this and he acknowledges this. He's okay with this.
Well, no,
They don't directly talk,
no,
but
no, no. Bert also says in that scene, and maybe I don't need him either.
yep, that's yeah, good point.
And that I think is more so,
Yeah, I think it's more so Bert's finally had enough.
yeah. And he's just, I've got to get away from this. I want my wife back. I want my life back. I want control of what is mine again.
Ah, you didn't have a third rhyme there.
I just repeated the same word. That's not
No, you said
rhyming.
wife and then life, and you didn't
Oh no,
say.
I said I want my wife back. I want my life back. Oh, I guess, sure. Um, and I it really did pull at me when Benny, Seth Rogen, as Samuel is going and turning in his camera to sell it just to get cash because he's like, I'm done filmmaking. I have no more love for this because this is how I found out that my mom was cheating. This passion of mine has brought me distress. Therefore, ditch the passion. Distress is also gone. And Benny comes out to him with this brand new, beautiful camera, and just says, "Hey, this is for you." And to which Samuel says, I can't take this, blah, blah, blah. They argue. And it's never said that Samuel knows that Benny is cheating with his mom, but Benny assumes that Samuel knows, and he just says, "No, please, this is for everything you've been through." And it's a beautiful line, and I forget it, but it's just like, and maybe everything else that I didn't do or that I did do. And he gives an apology that hints that there is an understanding between the two characters.
Oh, that makes it okay.
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying that's what
But
is
it sounded
delivered.
like that.
And he says, if you stop making movies, you'll break your mom's heart
Yeah, no, I don't
as
agree
they
with what
leave. So
Benny's doing, obviously.
Okay,
But it
just
is,
making that clear.
well, yeah, I'm gonna say don't cheat on your spouse. Um,
yes, we can all confirm that. Yeah, we
but
can all.
like
Wow, we
when
all agree on something. Yo, that's
Yes.
crazy.
crazy, don't cheat on your spouse. But then Benny,
Got to start somewhere.
but yeah, but when Benny says to him, if you stop making movies, you'll break your mom's heart. And that's when Samuel goes, okay. And then he goes, will you take $120 for it or
He
whatever, however
says
many money he got?
35.
He's like 35. And he's like, you drive a hard bargain. And so they trade it. And then Benny goes in for an awkward hug, slips the money into the breast pocket of Samuel's front shirt, and then just drives away. And eventually Samuel discovers it. And it is as much a resolution as we get between the two characters. Um, Even though Samuel doesn't get to go through all the entire range of emotions. But I thought Seth Rogen's delivery of his lines was very good. His his pacing, his acting in general was just top notch.
That's not a resolution, though.
I said as much of a resolution as we get between the two characters.
But it's not a resolution.
That's why I said it's as much of a resolution.
But you can't say it's some of a resolution if it's not a resolution. It's just
I think it is some of resolution
I think it's some of a resolution. Yeah, you don't think it is,
because
Warren? How come?
I think it is on Benny's part, but not Sammy's part.
that's why I said as much of.
All right, fair enough. Semantics. Carry on.
And yeah, I just found that scene to be really beautiful in as heartbreaking as it is. Do you guys have anything on Benny or his character, or obviously a dirtbag, but
I really don't think I'm as anti-Benny as you guys are.
Oh no, Carter.
I
This is just hit after hit after hit.
I know, man. I man, if you haven't seen the movie, I seem
Next,
like
Carter's
I'm
gonna say
taking
that
the
Mitzi's his favorite character.
man, like
Oh,
it seems like I'm
oh.
taking the like immoral stance if you haven't seen the movie and you're like what is this guy talking about? Like no, he wants to cheat on your spouse. He's supporting that.
That's what it sounded
What's
like.
wrong with this kid? But it's not. I think saying that Mitzi is just in it for herself and just like out of pure selfishness too is also very it's also the wrong stance. I don't know. I think
I agree.
it's clear that she's
She's
troubled
complicated,
and it's then she
like everyone is.
yeah, in the way that relationships are, it's very complicated. It's something that isn't something that you can't just put a patch on it and fix an emotion like that. There's give and take. And it's hard. It because man, it's hard to talk about this movie because it's heavy. It goes through a lot and it touches on some really deep, really hard to exhaustively discuss topics. And I think that obviously the divorce aspect of it is number one in that situation. But I think it's more about how Sam deals with this and how he reacts to it. And I think once they move from Arizona to California is when the movie really gets into gear for the final act and
Mhm.
just closes it out with a home run, really. It's unbelievably good. After that, after his dad gets a job at IBM, the family goes to California. They get a rental house, which they don't really like. They kids end up going to a new school, which opens up a whole new world of problems for them. And I don't want to say it's absolutely not because of Benny that the family starts to break down. But once they do lose Benny, the family starts to break down. It's not directly related, but it's because of the mom and the kid. What I'm saying is that the kids and the dad start to have struggles too. Sam accuses him of just running away from home and taking the family with him, which is to say that he's just unfairly just job hopped and is doing this for his interests and not putting the family first because there was some argument between not argument, but just some differing opinions on whether or not it'd be good to go to IBM and leave Arizona after they've already left New Jersey as a family. But they end up going to California where, as Seth Rogen says, everyone makes movies. So Sam just inches closer and closer to his goal.
Well, you said the family kind of started to fall apart when they moved to California.
Yeah,
I think there were already cracks showing before they moved to California, and it was just inevitable.
absolutely, yeah.
Kind of the last domino. Well, okay, maybe not. It was the dominoes had been. This is a bad analogy. The dominoes had been stacking up for a while, and then once they're in California, the first domino finally fell.
There you go, makes sense. But there's a scene where they are traveling to California and they start talking. His dad says something, and then the mom gets upset. Mitzi gets upset, gets out of the car, and then runs over to the side of the road after they park, and she's just there, and she's
Well, it's
upset
because
and
the
crying
dad had said something implying that he knew what was going on with Benny, and that's what made her so upset.
in a very minor way, implying that, yeah. But then Sam goes over and just kind of talks to his mom, tries to comfort her, and they at this point, he knows, and then his mom knows that he knows that about the Benny stuff.
And
They
they know
kind
that
of
the dad
resolve it.
knows. Yeah.
They try to say we're gonna move forward, we're gonna work through this. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna have a good life in California. And at that point, it's almost like it kind of baits you into thinking that they're gonna kind of have a little family reset. They're gonna move forward and be okay. Almost at leave again. Oh man. But so yeah, that conversation with his mom is kind of the opening to the third section of the movie, the California section. And even though there's the conversation about how they might try to get past these issues, this is the section where everything kind of falls apart. Bert begs Mitzi to go to therapy, which she eventually does, even though she complains that, psychiatrists they can't fix what you're feeling. They can just tell you what you're feeling, and she knows what she's feeling. Um, and it's when Sam deals with going to a new school and everything that comes along with that. A ton of it revolves around just his relationships with the bullies. The two kids, one is, I mean, there's a anti-Semitic gang of bullies there. One of them is just extremely crazy. The other even says he's mental, he's messed up in the head, stay away
He's
from him.
no, he's
And
demented,
he's demented, yes.
mentally so.
Yes. Uh-huh. And just crazy, crazy nasty kids that are just pounding away at Sammy's wife. And he gets in a fight and then meets a girl and then is it's only after he gets a fight has to apologize, and through that meets a girl, and through that kind of gets into a relationship, and through that decides to get back into filming by filming Ditch Day for their school,
Mhm.
which is where they go to a beach, the whole school, and it giving them the illusion that they're ditching school for the day, even though they're all there and just having a fun little field trip. And they need a photographer, and so he volunteers. He takes up his camera again and decides to film the event. And just a phenomenal sequence set to music, and it's just so fun to watch, which is what the entire movie is. I just wanted to hit on this. Yeah, I forgot, but it's it's one of those films that only Spielberg could have make it. There's just an aura of lightness to it, despite the heavy subject matter and the really painful experiences that are popping up on screen. There's just a warm feeling to watching this thing, and it's just about childhood. And people will disagree, but it's he Spielberg has so much experience with childhood, filming it, bringing it to life on screen, and that I really think he is one of the best filmmakers to portray children ever. There's not a single bad child performance in this, and there isn't a single moment with children in this that feels inauthentic, that feels something that is a stretch and it's made for the movie. It all feels just real, like a real family just going about their lives, which is awesome.
So you're saying it follows Clifford the Big Red Dog in that facet.
I don't know. Still haven't filled that gap in my viewing experience, but maybe I'll get to Clifford someday. Whether or not that's likely or unlikely is for me to know and you to find out. Let's talk about the monkey, because
Of course.
when the monkey showed up,
As
man,
soon
we
as the
lost
monkey
it.
showed up, we
I
just
mean,
all
I
looked at
lost it.
Carter.
Okay.
Well, didn't they say
It's
monkey business in the movie too?
They did.
They
Okay,
did.
so Sam
It's
comes back from school one
perfect.
day and hears just glass shattering. He's like, "What's wrong?" He opens the door and there's a capuchin just swinging around on the curtains, and the kids go, "Mom got a monkey!" And it's just so
It's
funny.
perfect.
The This film has an incredible sense of humor. It is hysterical. It's man, I second watch especially, I was just cracking up at like every tiny gesture they were making, man. It's so funny. And the monkey is the icing on the cake. They get a monkey. They name him. His mom gets a monkey, names him Benny, because this is when they're in California and she's missing Benny. And he just kind of he brings a weird feeling into the family dynamic, and it's like it is definitely the point where, yeah, I mean, I guess the dad knew before, but if he hadn't, and if the kids, I guess, hadn't, they kind of knew then that there was something up.
It's hard to be more on the nose than to name the monkey Benny. But
Absolutely,
back to the
yeah.
monkey. It kind of highlights just the differences between the mom and dad, Bert and Mitzi, because Bert is like he's the computer engineer. He's
Hmm.
very much like logical and down to earth, like pragmatic. And then Mitzi's, she's the artist. She's spontaneous. She just goes out, gets a monkey, and then Bert comes home. He's like, um, what?
Uh-huh. Great. It's a great monkey. It's one of the funniest monkeys I've ever seen in movies. Loved it, loved it. I'm not even a huge fan of capuchins. I mean, obviously I'm a fan of
Better than the
capuchins, but like,
monkey and Indiana Jones.
Or
yeah,
Night at
he's
the
in the fourth
Museum.
and he's not that good. Yeah, not gonna lie, the Night at the Museum monkey, he's a little overrated. He's funny in the first one.
Oh,
Maybe
shots
because the first
fired.
one,
This just in. Carter hates monkeys.
I like Dexter a lot in the first one, a lot in the first one. And then I think just because the second and the third movie suck so much, he just doesn't become funny anymore. But I love the line. The monkey business line is great, but also
Of
there's a
course.
line. They're talking about. They say, yeah, that's why mom got a therapist. That's why mom got a monkey and a therapist. And then the kid says, he throws his own poop. And then Sammy's girlfriend says, the therapist? She goes, no, the monkey. Oh, good. But self-possession is what Bert says about the monkey, and Mitzi goes, "Oh yeah," after she says, he knows things that we don't, and he's gonna keep them to himself. He's got his own monkey business. That was it's quite the theater moment.
Spielberg knows about us,
He
man.
really does. He really does. Cool.
And then right after the funny of the monkey, right? You have the parents sitting everybody down and talking about the divorce,
Hmm.
which then bleeds directly into the viewing of Ditch Day that Samuel's younger sister comes into his room and she's just pissed because like he knew about this.
Yep.
And she's like, you didn't tell me, what is wrong with you, yada yada. And then eventually she comes around and again, it's, you don't know if it's forgiveness or just she's just come to terms with it, and that's her own version of forgiveness for the time being. But then she sits down and she watches the movie he's made for Ditch Day, and he just says, well, before everybody laughs at it tomorrow, can you just watch it with me? And she
Hmm.
agrees, and we don't see the film, we just kind of see them bond. And then the next day
It's a great moment. Yeah.
you go and I loved Spielberg because for me, a lesser movie would have had the bullies do something to him at Ditch Day, would have broken the camera, or would have ruined the movie as it's playing on the screen or something like that. It's like a lesser movie would have gone to antics. But Spielberg stays true to the point of the film, or one of the major themes of the film, that movie making and movies are art and they do something for people. They are an entity that just allows us to reach for the stars without ever leaving the comfort of our home. And they're beautiful in that regard. And that's really one of the messages that which bully is it? Is it Logan or Chad? Is it Logan? Chad?
Which one?
The one who gets really emotional after it, in the sense of the popular one.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it's the one
Logan.
he's the super popular kid.
Yeah.
He's the star athlete there.
And which one is that?
I think it's Logan.
I don't
Okay,
remember
so
exactly,
I'll just
but
say
yeah.
Logan. So the popular one, as this film is going, there's a bunch of other awkward stuff that happens right before the movie showing, but as he starts to play the film and he matches it to the pace, he gets the whole crowd laughing. There's fun editing and movie magic that goes on with it. There's minor levels of storytelling without the use of words, and it's a really masterful little film within the film. But Samuel can't stand to watch it because his life at home is just falling to pieces. However, he does go out of his way to characterize the two bullies in that small film in very different ways. To the one who's demented, or called demented or whatever, we will call it like Chad.
Chad.
Chad, he goes and makes him kind of a clown who gets rejected, and he's the one who's poked fun at. And then Logan is very much portrayed as a star athlete who is a cut above the rest, who's like good looking and popular and fast and strong, and he's ideal. And he's the golden boy of the school. After the film is over, Logan comes and finds Samuel in the hallway and just says, why in the world would you, who I've bullied this whole year, make me look as though I can fly on screen when I know that that's not really me? He's just wrestling with this idea. And to that actor too, fantastic job. And absolutely loved his performance. Goodness gracious. I mean, everybody in this film is just captivating in their own right.
For sure.
And it's when he, and then Samuel responds, I forget the exact lines of it, but I believe it's something along the lines of, maybe I did it so that you would be nice to me and not bully me for 5 minutes, or maybe I did it to make my movie better. I don't know. And I love how he wrestles with it. Just like, I can't tell you why, but I know that me filming you in that way, even after everything you did, it made my movie better. And I love making movies, and I love my art more than I hate you. And it was a fantastic delivery, because it was such a huge payoff that this was still, after everything that movie making had done him, after all the ridicule, after all the disbelief, this was still something that drove him to his core to be a better person and to keep striving for the next level. And eventually there's a little bit of bonding that happens, and then the Logan defends Samuel from Chad, who comes in and is very upset that he was poked fun at. And then you also get a little bit of payoff, because in the suave way that this 17 or 18-year-old male Samuel thought that he could solve his life, he decided to more or less propose to his girlfriend of only a few months to, or yeah, for only a few months to like come and live with him in California and to run away and do this. And she goes, no, I'm not going to do that. And then she leaves and she's like, you want to go make movies? It's cute and all this and stuff like that. But then after she watches the movie and she sees what he can do, she goes back to the projector and she just kind of has this smile on her face, just going, I wonder where our superstar is. I don't know. It was a neat little touch, but also again, very reserved in Spielberg's masterful way of just how he knows what he wants to do with the film. So he doesn't confuse you with anything more than you need. He doesn't have a resolution really between the girlfriend and Samuel. He's just, that's all you needed to see was that the movie impacted her, because that's what I care about. And that's as what I, the director, want to convey to you, is that this is art and this does stuff to people. And moi.
Yeah, it's amazing. The prom scene is the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. When they the entire thing, because then there's like the hairspray joke, and then there's the bird poop, and the band. So funny. But then the movie is just it seals it, and it affects everyone in the auditorium, and they're all cheering, and they're cheering and laughing, and they want to pick each other up, and Logan is like, no, 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 when they try to exalt him and cheer him on, because he's upset, he's angry, and he's just, he's worried because it Spielberg has, through film, enhanced reality. It showed to Chad to be even more of a loser than he is, and it showed Logan to be even more of a superstar than he is. Which is just, showing how awesome filmmaking is. And really does, in my opinion, give resolution to this between the two characters, between Sam and Logan, the one bully.
Agreed.
And that's, yeah, that is, and then he goes and proposes to Monica, his girlfriend, which is hilarious. And she's like, no, no.
Yeah, she's like,
And
of
then
course I'm
he's
gonna
like,
break up with you.
uh-huh, yeah. And there's one scene after the
Mhm.
prom scene, which is the best scene in the movie. And it's him talking to his mom after prom, and then they talk things out, and there's resolution there. It's after they've kind of decided that, it's after Mitzi's decided she's going to move back, and they've all made peace with that decision as much as they can. And so there's no more tension between them. They talk things out. They just have a wonderful conversation about not owing your life to anyone. And then it cuts to 1 year later, the little 15-minute end of the movie section where he's in Los Angeles in an apartment with his dad. And then he has a panic attack, and because he has to go to college, has to drive 2 or 3 hours a day, I think,
Mhm.
one way. Comes back, is just wrecked by school, says he hates school more than anything. Finds out that he's been given a job offer to CBS, goes and meets with the producer there.
Yeah. It's a great little send off to the film to just kind of wrap it all up and give it one more little bit of humor
Yep,
with that other director.
yep.
And then even put it at the very end to just have that little, and I think that would be a nice thing for the audience to just kind of see on a first view. Just, oh, that's perfect. I still love when he strikes that match, man. I don't know. Just
Okay, yeah. Any
it's great.
any thoughts before I go into the ending section and kind of close it out with that, I guess?
Lauren?
Go
No.
for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
go. Yeah, I think this part, you know more about this than I will, I think. And I don't say that in any type of sarcastic sense. I think there is very much something that you will be able to tell me
Yeah,
because I don't get
it's
it.
just it's
Like,
just
I
a
love it, but I don't get
it's
it.
a wonderful and just hysterical nod to people who kind of know these things, because he goes and he talks about Hogan's Heroes, and it's like, dang, he gets to work on Hogan's Heroes now, which is awesome. They joke about, oh man, I hope it's a success. Then he says, the producer is talking to Sammy during this, and he says,
Oh, that's Greg Grunberg, right?
yeah, that is, yep, one of the actors and heroes, one of Warren's favorite shows,
He was in
one of the definitive shows in Warren's.
he's in Star Wars too. He's been in a bunch of things.
I kind of like him, honestly. Very fun.
Great actor, good little guy. And then he says, so what he says is, you know who you should meet? The best director of all time to ever live, or something like that. Takes him across the hall. He sits in an office for a long time. He's like awkwardly, and then he looks around and sees all the posters of Grapes of Wrath, How Green Was My Valley, The Searchers, and then The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which is the movie that he saw with his Boy Scout buddies that inspired him to make the very first film he did with his Boy Scout buddies, which is an awesome callback. I don't know how true it is to Spielberg's actual life story, but like it's so cool still regardless. So the guy who walks in is the character of John Ford, who is the director of those movies I mentioned. The actor who plays him is David Lynch, who is also a movie director, famous for Twin Peaks, the show. Also did Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, um, all great movies. He's just a crazy person, really, in real life. Just from his hair and his voice alone, like that's like if you look at him at first glance and then hear him at first glance, like that is his personality. Like he's a nut. He runs a YouTube channel where every day he picks a number out of a jar and says, "Here's today's number," and holds it up to the camera. And he does this every day, and he's been doing this since 2020 from the pandemic. Yeah, he lives in a little shack in California, like in the woods. It's so funny. He still makes short films every once in a while. He hasn't directed a feature length film since 2006. He did direct a TV show in 2017, but he's just a nut. And it's so he just walks and then it's
Bro, every
walks into
day this
frame
guy uploads two
just and I'm
videos.
just
He
cackling, man.
uploads
Yeah,
David
yep.
Lynch's weather report and he uploads
Uh-huh.
today's number
He
is.
gives the weather report and he says he looks out his window and then says what the weather is, and then he picks a ping pong ball out of a jar. And he's just crazy, man. It's so funny that Spielberg like roped him in and said, "Hey, do you want to play John Ford in my movie?" And he was like, "Sure, why not?" And so he gets there, doesn't say anything for like a solid 2 minutes, strikes a match, smokes a cigar for like a solid 2 minutes, and then says, "What do you know about art, kid?" And then it's just such a good scene. It's like such a like funny and realistic scene, like not like a cheesy scene of meeting a celebrity of anything. Like here's a kid meeting his hero. He's trying to, say a few things to him, but then he goes over awkwardly to the picture and is like, well, here's the two cowboys and the searchers. Like, no, no, no. Where's the horizon? He's trying to get him to look at something that's plain and in front of him, but something that is also, kind of profound. And then he says it's at the bottom. Moves over to the second picture. Where's the horizon? It's at the top. And then he says, so if the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. If the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. If it's in the middle, it's boring as crap. Now get out of my office. And it's so funny. And the way I say it obviously does it no justice, but
You gotta see this
it's
scene.
he really does. It is a wonderful end and just a perfectly out of left field end to this wonderful heartfelt drama. And then Sam walks out of the office and is, obviously floating on air after meeting his childhood hero. And walks down and then kind of walks away from the office and the camera does its little fix of the
Yep.
horizon in a little pan.
Yeah.
Just ends on a joke. So good.
I think we've covered the movie really well.
Yeah.
Warren, is there anything you want to put in? There is only one other topic I want to talk about.
Go for it.
Huge also shout out to Judd Hirsch as Uncle Boris.
Yes, we didn't talk about him.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Uncle Boris, but after someone's mom dies, there's a funeral. I forget who it is.
It's Mitzi's mom.
Yeah.
Mitzi's mom dies, and then Uncle Boris shows up.
Yep, and then Uncle
in
Boris
a
shows
taxi.
up, and this guy basically he's one of the first people to set Samuel aside and just say, "Hey, by the way, that bug I've got in me, you've got in you. And as a result, this thing is going to eat away at you until you die, and you are going to sacrifice life, limb, and everything else for this thing. But don't worry, you're normal as far as you and
Yeah.
me, you as far as you and me are concerned. And he pinches his cheek really, really hard to just tell him, like, you remember this pain, you remember what I'm telling you. You're gonna have to go in on this. You're not gonna have, just don't give up, just keep going.
He says
And
that he says how much that hurt, that's how it's gonna hurt every time someone says your passion's just a hobby. Whenever they say this isn't something you should pursue, this isn't something that matters,
mhm,
it's gonna
but
hurt like that.
but you have to take the chance. You
Yep.
have to, and for that type of a person, he had to take the chance. It was the only thing that he could do.
Yeah. And he said what's in me is what's in your mom, and it's what's also in you. And he said your mom chose family. I chose the circus and then later the pictures. And then you've got to choose between your family and your art and your love of that.
Mhm,
And that's what Sam grapples with through the entire film.
mhm.
So Judd Hirsch just gives a wonderful, wonderful comedic performance. Um, as a simple little understated circus guy.
I'm not sure understated is the adjective I'd go for.
Well, I don't think he's really like giving a bombastic performance. Maybe compared to everyone else he is, but like
He's very animated.
yeah, he's very animated.
Warren, why don't you start us off? And
Okay.
then I'll go next, and then Carter will close.
Time for ratings.
So the scenes of creating the films and especially the impact that these films have, which I think is the focal point of the movie, those are absolutely phenomenal. You start out with like the family movies and you just see like the laughter and the joy on the family members' faces, and then just the tears on Mitzi as he shows her the film. But I think for me, the most emotional moment for me in the film was when he's making the movie with the Boy Scouts and the one Boy Scout member that he gets like super annoyed that they're not doing what he wants them to do. So then he goes on this whole like rant about just imagine you're in this character's shoes and all these soldiers have died because you led them here and it's your fault and you could have done this differently. And he just the Boy Scout who's acting his character just gets so lost in the character and in the moment that he's moved to tears. And even after they cut the scene, he's still just walking into the distance. Phenomenal. Because
Yeah.
even Sammy doesn't realize the power that he has and the power that his films have. And then especially at the end with Logan and Chad, that as well, with just how the power of storytelling. I think that's really the center
Yeah,
of the story.
Agreed.
So
power
all
of putting
that
stories to film, I think, and having an audience react to it,
and the impact it
but
can
also
have.
moving
Yes.
individuals. Yeah,
Yeah. All that
it's wonderful.
phenomenal. As far as everything else, I get that it's heartbreaking, everything that happens to the family and it impacts everyone in the family and everything. And this is something that I was thinking about this a lot and trying to figure out why I just everything that happens with all the characters in the family, I just never really care about. And I'm not completely sure why that is, but yeah, something about just the characters in the family just never drew me in. So to me, it was really just the everything related to filmmaking and especially the impact that the films had in the movie. I thought was done flawlessly, and so for that reason, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
Solid.
If for my own curiosity's sake, I know we're in this, so but if you could pick a movie for me, and again, no judgments barred, that does pull at family heartstrings for you, do you have one that you would say is a depiction of what you'd like in that aspect or in that genre,
Well,
if I made any sense?
I don't know if I want to spoil this if we're doing like our rankings at the end of the year, but the movie that's
Movie of
currently
the
number
year.
one of the year for me, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I'd love to know.
Well,
If
we
it's not
can't
one we-
spoil that for
If it's
listeners.
not
Well,
one
you
we've covered
will
on the
know.
We'll get to that. We'll
podcast.
get to that
You'll-
pretty soon.
But
You'll
yeah,
know.
but our listeners gotta know, dude.
Yeah, there are a lot of movies that have
Well,
done that.
tune into our end of the year episode to
Yeah.
figure out
Guys are
Warren's number one of the year.
trash bags. We are watching a movie about loving movies, and I'm asking for a movie recommendation, and you both are just
It's all about the
"No, man,
marketing.
I'm not going to
though.
give
You
it."
can't spoil everything in one episode.
Yes, you can.
Gotta
Give
draw the
me,
listeners
give
back
me.
in so they tune into the end of year show.
You guys are lame. Anyway, the cool one will go next. That's me. And I am very happy to this year be able to hand out 3 10 out of 10s. So I love this film. I don't know. It is a 10 out of 10 for me, more in the I respect what this film does, and it's amazing and it's wonderful and it depicts everything perfectly. I don't know how much it's one of my above and beyonds where I would keep watching this film one, if I may, but I do think just I can't find anything wrong in this film. And I do love it in its own right. So I'm not trying to downplay it over other films, but my 10 out of 10s have rankings. And this is a little lower on the list based on preference, but great movie. And of the top 3, of course, are Everything Everywhere All at Once, Banshees of Inisherin, and Fabelmans. So
Do
it's
we
been
have
a
a
good
running
year.
counter on how many times Will brings up the Banshees of Inisherin this year?
Dude,
It's got to be in the 20s, right?
until we start rowing. Carter?
Do you know who we're just gonna remember your favorite movie of the year? Absolutely no.
Do you want to know who's going to remember if you
Remember
were kind
Banshees
to
of
me?
Inisherin? Everyone to a man knows Colin Farrell. So my rating,
Abrupt
I
change there.
yeah. Well, no, it. I didn't do as much research for this as I would have liked to. Then again, it is kind of hard to talk about because it differs a lot from pretty much every movie we've talked about on the podcast so far. But it also is just really something that has no flaws. It's just so wonderful to go into a movie and to just be swept into it and just watch something that is so masterful with every single aspect of it and yet feels unbelievably effortless from a guy who's been making movies for 50 years, you know? That's that's what these masters bring to the table, and it's so fun to watch like movies like this. Watch movies like West Side Story from last year. I think Spielberg's just on an absolute tear right now in the late years of his career, which is awesome.
He's still young.
Mhm. He's still got plenty in him. He's I don't know if this is totally gonna come to light, but there are rumors he's gonna remake Bullet, starring Bradley Cooper, which is like that's awesome. Something he could absolutely do, something he could absolutely pull off. And he's just making banger after banger, man.
That's a terrible title for a movie.
It really is.
Plane, bullet,
Bullet
B
train.
Bullit. Bullit.
Train.
Bullet train. Bullit. But
Still a terrible name.
all right, fine. It's great to see movies like this. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Second best of the year for me. Second funniest of the year for me.
Second,
You
really
said
to that.
monkey business in the movie and it's not number 1?
It's not.
You really okay. I was about to say, since you said second best, Carter,
Mhm.
I am also going to say by the time we do our end of year review, See How They Run is very much looking like a 10, not so much a 9. I think about that
High
movie
praise.
once a
Might have
week.
to watch it again, you know?
Like
Warren,
that
you
is
might have to
a
watch the first 20 minutes of that.
that is a good film.
I think it was
Give it a
5 minutes.
5.
But am I correct in assuming that number 1, Carter, is See How They Run?
For me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, I thought that was your number 1 of the year.
Nah.
Oh,
Why would you think that was number 1?
If I saw See
Oh.
How They Run again, it might be a 10.
is your number the one
I have it as a 9 right
something
now, though.
I've seen with you?
But number 1, as of now, is far and away Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh shoot,
It
dude, I just forgot about
it
that film for like a second.
it
I do not believe that for 1 second.
It's that movie, man, that's pushing top 30 of all time for me. Like
That low?
it's unreal. It's so
Cringe.
good.
How many movies have the Coen brothers made? How many movies has Spielberg made? And then maybe some Peter Jackson, and then bam, Banshees.
What?
And Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Anyway, before I am even stupider than normal, Carter, would you send us off?
I would love to. Thanks for listening, everyone. We got our own monkey business. We are not keeping it to ourselves. We're gonna keep talking about movies. Hopefully you keep listening. Catch you next time.